Hi, this is David here at Highland Campervans and welcome to the handover video of this Volkswagen Transporter Caledonia campers. We're going to take you around, show you all the basic control functions of the vehicle, get you all set ready for your first trips out. Now, I do recommend that you either bookmark this video for future reference or maybe download it as your device. So if you're out and about, you've got a handy guide to sort of help you get to grips with the controls. So all left for me to say is please enjoy the video and I'll catch you at the end. At the very back of the vehicle on the passenger side, you're going to find your water inlet tank here. Now you do need to use the little silver key to unlock the cap. So just put the key in, turn the cap and then remove the cap entirely out the way. You're then going to need your water line, so be it a food safe hose or the campsite hose. Just insert it in and just then fill with water. You'll know the tank's full when you see water start to backwash out of the tank here. So once that's done, or you put enough water in for how much you need, just retract the hose. On the cap, just make sure that the two pins are lined up, insert that back in and then lock the cap back off, and that there covers water infill. So down along the driver's side of the van, you're going to find this access port just here, and this access port here is for your electrical hookup cable. So to plug the van in, you need to open the flap up like so, then take your cable, plug it in until it clicks like so. Now, top tip for when you plug in your van into a hookup point, you don't want to travel with a live cable. So what you want to make sure you do first of all is plug the van in and then take the other end of your cable to where you're getting your energy source from. Once that's plugged in there, don't forget to check the trip switches for that end to make sure that your van is not the last line of defense when it comes to electrical surge. When you're all hooked up, you can then turn the power source on and then you can use the full electrics inside the van via your electrical hookup. When it comes to unplugging the van, do make sure that you turn all the habitation side off first. Don't leave those on while disconnecting your van. So turn that all off first and then remove the energy source first. So be it at a camp point, take that off, or at home, take that button off first. So you're not traveling in with a live cable. And then it's just a case of removing the hookup cable, wiggling it out like so. When you're putting your cable away, it's not a bad point then to maybe inspect the cable itself, the plug, make sure there's no cracks or damage, that the cable is not loose and there's no damage actually on the cable itself. If you do see any signs of damage on your cable, you will need to replace the hookup cable with a brand new one. Also, when you have your cables all plugged in, do make sure that the cable is not furled up in a neat pile. You want to make sure that cable is nice and stretched out, as the cable can get hot, and if it's all curled up, it could potentially melt on top of itself. So make sure the cable is fully unfurled. And also, do double check with your campsite to make sure there's no specific rules for use of your cables, how they're laid out on the floor, etc. And that covers electrical hookup. Just inside the boot area of your VW Transporter, you're going to see this here, which is the locker for the LPG gas tank. So to access this locker, we just need to rotate the two lockers, like so, and then we can remove the cover. So hiding inside here is your camping gas bottle. You've got a spanner to allow you to detach it if you're replacing the bottle, and you've got a safety travel strap here as well. So this here will control the flow of the gas. So this will turn on to allow the gas to flow through the bottle. It is recommended that when you're traveling, you turn the gas off just for safety purposes, as it were. Once you're done, it's a case of replacing the locker back onto its lips, turning the locks into place. There we go. 1 and 2, and that's then the locker all secure. Next, we're going to have a look at the habitation control panel inside your Caledonia camper. So it is this little device here, located just next to the rear passenger bench on the driver's side. So once you first get into the van, you're going to want to turn on the 12-volt system. And that's done with this button just here. And that is our 12-volt systems now turned on. So the light controls are all operated by different switches around the van. So there's switches located around to turn the different lights on and off. So on the habitation control panel, you have a number of different buttons that you can access. This one here tells us that we're on the leisure battery system. This one here will switch us to vehicle battery, water pump, and freshwater tank level. So we want to check the battery level. We highlight the battery we want to use, hold the button down, and we get a little indicator to give us an idea of the battery status. Likewise, if we hold the vehicle battery one down, it'll show the vehicle battery status, and then water pump on and off. And this one here will turn let's see the levels for the freshwater tank. Button down here is to turn the fridge on and off. Now the fridge operates on its own circuit. So when the habitation panel switched off, the fridge will remain on. And this will allow the fridge to operate when you're driving. So it keeps things cool when you're moving around in the van. The 3-pin sockets will only work when you're on electrical hookup. So if you are plugged in off grid, these will only operate if you have the electrical hookup cable plugged in. When you are connecting and disconnecting your battery, your electric hookup cable, it's very important to make sure that you've turned the habitation panel off before you disconnect your cable, just avoid any surges going back. And that covers our habitation control panel and our fridge switch and 3-pin sockets. Moving on to the sink in your camper van, you need to make sure, first of all, before using the sink, that you have fresh water in the tank and you have turned the water pump on the habitation panel, which we cover in another part of this video. So to access the sink, we're going to lift up this glass panel like so, and then we're going to raise the tap up to the position that we want to use it, and then we use the faucet control here to turn the water on, like so. Now please bear in mind that this is only a cold water supply. There is no hot water on board this van, and then all your wastewater will drain through in the bottom of the van via the sink plug here. Put things away, make sure you tuck the tap back down again, close the glass, and don't forget to switch off the water pump when you're not using it. And that covers our sink. When it comes to cooking inside your van, we'll need to access the hob rings. Now before you do that, do make sure that you have turned the gas supply on, as these aren't going to work, and you do make sure that the 12-volt circuit's running to run the spark igniter. So we're going to open the cover up. We have our 2 burner rings either side, and then to turn the gas on, we're going to rotate the knob, hold it down to let the gas flow through, run the sparker, hold it for a second to allow the gas to flow, and we'll do the same on the next one. And there we go. And that is our gas rings. Once you finish cooking, don't forget to turn the rings off. Have a quick listen to make sure the gas has stopped flowing through. No gas, so we're all good. And then we can replace the cover down. Now, make sure if you have been cooking that you have given it at least 10 minutes to cool down before closing the cover, or you could end up damaging the glass itself. And then when you're traveling, as mentioned earlier, I definitely recommend that you turn the gas supply off just for travel safety. For heating your van, you use the Webasto controller, which is located here, just below the habitation area. This is a fairly straightforward device to use. It has a quick mode, which is what you're probably going to use most of the time. So to turn it on, press the button in the corner. Okay. When this is lit green, the heating system is now on. And this here is your temperature. And we can select the temperature change by just rotating the dial and then confirming it by pushing the button in, and that now sorts out the temperature. And that is a very quick system to use. To turn the system off, we just press this button here, and that then puts the diesel heating on off mode. The screen here will eventually time out by itself. Now, while you're in this screen, you do have the option to run a ventilation mode for the vehicle here. So if you don't want to run the heater, but you'd like to ventilate the van, you can select it here, push the button in, and then you can select the level of ventilation required, press the button, and that will then run the ventilator system itself. You can return to the menu at any time by clicking backwards or forwards on here, and that will switch you backwards and forwards. Now, there's a lot of more options available on your Webasto heating unit, but in essence, the quick heating system is probably what you'll use more than anything else here. Now, the Webasto system takes about 2 minutes for it to fully heat up. What is recommended is that while this is warming up, that you actually run the engine of the vehicle to help the heater system get along, because it's using diesel fuel. Once the system is heated up, then you can obviously switch the engine back off again, and the heater system will take over by itself. And that covers our heating system. Now I'd like to take a look at the Dometic fridge that is fitted to your Caledonia camper. So the Dometic fridge is a 12-volt compressor fridge, which means it runs on the leisure system or runs on the vehicle battery as needed. So the fridge has its own isolation switch, if you remember. Is this switch just here, which we covered in another part of this video. So when that orange light is on, it means the fridge circuit is operating. So to use the fridge, it's fairly straightforward. We have the handle just here. That just lifts up and allows the fridge door to open. So inside the fridge, we have our settings just here. And we have our frost settings just here for how cool the fridge is being used. You can power the fridge on and off with the button just here if you so wish. And this is our temperature controller. We just tap this to change whatever temperature we want the fridge to be set at. It's not uncommon to hear the fridge make little noises as it's working along, because that's just the nature of the fridge itself. So don't be alarmed if you hear a little noise or a little hum coming from the fridge when it's running. Now, the fridge does have a ventilator mode. So when the fridge is not being used, pull this little blue tab out. This will allow the door to partly lock and close. So you'll notice there's actually a little gap just down here, which is ideal when the fridge is not being used and you don't want the fridge to go all sort of moldy and mildewy inside. But for general operation of the fridge, you just fold that in and that will then seal the door completely shut. And that is the Dometic fridge. Next on the list is to have a look at the pop top and how we raise that. So it's a fairly straightforward process to do. Is to open the pop top, we need to release these two straps on either side of the fan. So I'm going to just pull these down. So we basically give this a wee squeeze and then we can lower the strap down. What I would suggest is you don't pull the strap all the way through, otherwise you'll have to keep rebinding them every single time. So let's do that on this side. So once you've got the straps nice and loose, it's just a case of give the roof a very good push and up she'll go. Now what I recommend is when the roof is fully extended, just give it a couple more moments just to let it settle. And once the roof is settled, we can then push the bed up. So let's go around and have a look at that. So here's the bed frame just here. Now, be aware that the edge of the beds here are quite sharp. And this is why you want to make sure that the top here has had a chance to lift and rest out of the way. So once that's done, then you can raise this. So raise this nice and gently, making sure that it stays nice and clear like so. And that allows us to raise the roof. Now, on the roof itself, you do have your opening vents and windows. So you have the little zips like so, and that allows you to ventilate the van, open up the windows to allow daylight in and out. The van also has the skyline roof, which is this zip that runs right around the bottom of the van. Okay, so if you want to fully open the roof, if you like, you'll notice that there are these little straps here at the front, and another one on the side and one further back. Now, these are to allow the roof to roll up into the upright position. So I'm not going to do it fully, but I'll show you the theory. So we unzip this roof element here, and then this just rolls up. There's a strap on the inside which allows you to strap this up here, and that buckles the roof into the upright position. When it comes to put the roof back again, okay, you'll need to run the zip around the base of the van. Now, sometimes the zip can get a little tight as it goes around the corners at the front of the vehicle. So these two corners here, the zip can get a little bit tight. If that's the case, just lower the roof very gently to remove a bit of tension to allow the zip to travel round. Do make sure that you do close the zips up fully to avoid any drafts coming into the vehicle. So putting the roof down, excuse me. So to put the roof down, you first of all need to lower the bed frame here. So make sure that when you lower the bed frame that you are protecting the edges of the bed frame against the canvas. So just nice and gently pull this down, lower it down like so. And then it's a case of then grabbing, excuse me, grabbing the handles here, and there's one on the opposite side as well, and then pulling the whole pop top down. Now, as the pop top comes down, you're going to want to make sure that you are controlling the descent of the canvas. Excuse me. So I'm going to pull the roof down like so. And as we get in, you'll see the canvas starts to billow in. So before you lower the roof all the way down, you want to make sure that you are pulling the canvas in so it doesn't get trapped on the hinges itself. Obviously, don't forget the very front of the van as well when you're tucking that in. And once the roof is down, then it's a case of just tighten up the straps and make sure everything is all secure. And that covers our pop top. So let's have a look at folding the bed down on your Caledonia camper. So this is a rib bed. So the bed folds in various different stages. So first of all, I need to show you the location of the folding handle, and that is located just down here. So this handle here releases the first part of the seat. So let's do that just now. Let me just set the camera ready for you so you can see this in action. So pull this lever up, put your hand down the back of the seat and pull the bed right over like so. Now this is adjustable, so you can have it higher or lower to suit yourself. Just use the ratchet here to adjust. So next part of the bed, there's a large silver bar located down here. We're going to pull that up and then lower the next part of the bed frame down. And that then just slots in neatly into here. Final part of the bed is the rear section here. There's another handle located on the same side as the first part of the bed, which is just down here. And we can use this handle to push down the bed frame into a position that we find comfortable. And that there puts the bed. Now you can use this to angle the backrest here of the bed if you want it tilted a little bit for comfort. Maybe you're reading late at night and you don't want to be lying flat. You can basically turn this into a large lounger if you want to. So to reverse the process, okay, we don't need to raise this one if we don't need to, but to raise this section, all we do is put our hands down between the cushions and physically lift the bed frame up. Push it into place. Now this bar should lock in. You probably heard the twang there. That means the bed is now locked. Now to flip this section over, we pull this lever and then we fall the bed frame right over and then drop it back into position. And that is the bed now back into a sofa. Sitting on the driver's seat, we're going to have a look at the dashboard and the dash controls. Now, I will take you for a run around with some of these control functions, but I do encourage you to spend some time and get familiar with the different warning lights and symbols that you may see on your dashboard. So, first things first, when the vehicle is running, we have just hiding over here is our indicators, and we also have our beam functionality as well on here. So the beam functionality is a case that you just push the lights away from you and push them back to you to turn them on. Indicators up and down, as you would imagine. If you give the indicator a light flick, you'll just get a lane changer, which is 3 flashes, and then full up will put the vehicle indicator into the cancel mode. Okay. Hiding down to the side here, we have our light control mode. So you have a couple of options on the lights. So at 12 o'clock position is the lights fully off. 1 o'clock here is lights in auto. 2 o'clock is side lights, and 3 o'clock is full dip lights. Now the reason you have this functionality is that there are some areas where you are required to drive with lights on regardless of the time of day. In automatic mode, there's this light sensor on the windscreen and dashboard which will let the vehicle know when the lights probably will need to be switched on, but again, you can override this any time that you need to. The fog lights are also controlled on this switch here as well. So the fog lights, you have front and rear, and this is controlled by pulling the stalk out. So first pull will be front fog lights, second pull will engage the rear fog light. Now don't forget that you do need to switch these off. The van won't turn them off automatically for you, so do push this back in to turn the lights off. Incidentally, if you switch the lights off, this will automatically rotate to turn the fog lights off as well. On the door card, you have control functions for cycle lock-in. You then have control functions here for the electric mirrors. So adjust this to the mirror you want to adjust, and then use this as a joystick to physically move the mirror about. So up and down, left and right to adjust the mirror flow itself. And then you have your front electric window switches, and then finally there's a child safety switch for the rear door. Moving on to the other wiper, onto the other stalk is our wiper controls. So the wiper controls on this van are fairly straightforward. They go up for the various different programs. So you have intermittent, low speed, high speed, and then this little device here lets you control the speed of the intermittent wiper. If you want to mist swipe, it's just down to activate a mist swipe, and then wash windows, you just pull the stalk towards you, and then they will action their wash program. Okay. Moving on to the steering wheel. Button controls here are for the cruise control. This van is equipped with a radar cruise, which is what this button here is. So to turn the cruise control on, we will press this button here. We will get a little indicator appear on the dash just there. We then set the speed we want to by pressing the set button, and then we can adjust that speed up and down like so. This button here will allow us to change the tracking level of the van using the radar, so that will be what distance we want to be. Now I recommend trying this out on the motorway only. Don't use this on the high road. Cruise control is designed for carriageway driving, not single traffic driving. Turn the cruise control off, we press this button here, and you'll notice that these symbols and the automatic cruise system are now deactivated. The radar system incidentally will act in the background as a collision alert for you, so you can change that within the settings of the vehicle. On On the opposite side here, this allows us to change the information display, so we can press these buttons here and we can see different systems that we can access and make changes to. So driving data, assistance systems, audio, Bluetooth, etc, etc. The up and down arrows here allow us to go into certain menus, and then we can use this up and down to see other various bits and data on each individual menu itself, as it were. The view button allows us to see any warning messages, and then we have a voice activation command button just here for your vehicle as well. Radio buttons are located just down here for volume, and on the side here for changing track or stations. Over onto the sensor, we have our air conditioning controls. So we have our air temperature, air speed, and air direction. So these just rotate to whichever position you want the heating system to operate at. Air condition, when the button is lit, that means the air condition is active. When the button is turned off, it means the air condition has been turned off. You have a rear demister window here, and you have an air circulation function here as well. Onto the main media unit. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going over the media unit. I recommend that you experiment in your own time, but in essence you have functions for the radio, just hiding here. Media allows you to go in and connect Bluetooth. You have a sub menu just here to allow you to do other connections, like connect a mobile phone, check sound levels, etc. Phone lets you take you into a dialing system. Apps will let you take you in, and you can connect to Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, or if you want to, you can use MirrorLink as well. Then the voice control here again allows you to go into the phone system. Button on the side here will allow you to adjust volume controls, and this button here is used for selections when you're using the menus. But again, as I said, I recommend that you you experiment with this system and get more familiar with it once you kind of used it about yourself. The gear, on the gear stick, you have a button just here which needs to be pushed in when you're trying to select the gear. If you're trying to select the gear just now and without your foot on the brake, nothing is going to happen. So for safety, you need to put your foot on the brake, and then you need to engage the release button, and that will then allow the gearbox to action into the various different modes for driving. Okay. There is, at the bottom of the gear stick, there is a manual control mode. If you slick the gear stick across to the side like so, so drive, manual control, and then you can use the up and down of the gear stick to action and change gears, very similar to like a manual, or kind of like what a racing car is doing. The gearbox indicator, incidentally, is this up here in the very corner of the info display. So at the minute the gearbox is listed M1 because I'm in manual mode, gear 1, and then if I switch it across to drive, you'll see D for drive mode and gear number 1, neutral, reverse, and then park mode. Now, talking to park mode, please bear in mind that the park mode is not a handbrake. All it is parking the gearbox, not parking the car. When you're parking the vehicle and you put the vehicle into park, you do still need to put your handbrake on. Don't leave the vehicle just sitting in park mode only. Just to make things safe, make sure you engage park mode and you engage the handbrake down here to keep the vehicle secure from rolling away. And that covers our driving controls. So that was the Handover video for the VW Transporter Caledonia Campers conversion. I hope you found it useful and that it helps you get to grips with all the controls on your first adventures out. As I said to you at the very start, I do recommend that you maybe bookmark this video or add it or download it to your device so you have it as a handy reference when you're out and about and you maybe get a little bit stuck. But of course, we are here at Handover Campervans to help you out. So give us a call anytime you need to. If there's anything you're not too sure about or you want us to recap for you, we're here to look after you in your van at the end of the day. All that's left for me to say is I wish you many happy miles motoring in your new home, making great new memories. We would love to see some pictures, so please do link us some pictures in the future. And all that's left for me to say is bye for now. Bye-bye.